Being a 27-year-old who attended school from the age of 5 to 24, school has taken up a literal vast majority of my life. And one thing I did not learn from my classes was how to be organized nor how to declutter. In fact, if anything, we're actually taught the complete opposite, which is that we need to go above and beyond limits. But I couldn't find peace within myself for the longest time because I never felt good enough. Not until I started decluttering my student life and I stopped trying to organize myself better. If anything, decluttering to my limits led to self forgiveness and allowed me to embrace my favorites and essentials. I'm not just talking about decluttering my physical environment, but also my past acquaintances, my class time, and the false expectations and identities that I lived with for so long. It wasn't trying harder that made me feel organized, it was decluttering that made me feel organized and intentional. I didn't grow up in an ideal family environment because emotions were unstable, mental health was invisible, and there was constant tension. And I also went through a lot of traumatic things that no kid ever should have had to deal with. I struggled with mental health for the longest time, from depression, anxiety, isolation, and I had to mask myself and my emotions along with the pressure of being placed on a pedestal. I could function in the chaotic environment, but it was more like surviving, and chaos was just the norm in my house. And my bedroom was normalized as a dumping ground for my relatives, where an avalanche of stuff filled two closets and laid in front of my bed. Since elementary, every move I made was under a microscope, and I felt like I was in the spotlight every single time. I got unwanted attention constantly for who knows whatever reason, and I still don't know what started to this day. But both the students and the teachers put later compliments on Dick to work me when I was just trying to be a natural student, trying their best. During my first 2 semesters of college, when I was making my own choices and made my own schedule, my mental health hit a complete all-time low because 8 classes was not manageable for me, and I got so overwhelmed to the point where I stopped attending about half of them from anxiety. And I thought my second semester was going to be different, and I thought it'd be more organized, but no, I still couldn't organize myself, and I was just overloaded with so many negative thoughts about myself. So, because I got a failing grade for not attending multiple of my classes, I got kicked from my day program and I had to shift into a night program that would eventually help me return to the day program. And I had less classes starting out as a night student when I initially started out with two, and then I gradually bumped up to four. And that was the first time I actually found a routine that works for me for the first time in my life. And that was also when I realized the solution isn't that I need to manage myself better, it's that I need to have less commitments and that my mind and my body work differently from the norm. So, what does work for me? For me personally, having an off day, completely no classes, is what I need to just process the material given by my teachers. That's what made night classes work for me because I was guaranteed a full week and therefore a guaranteed weekend to review the material and ask any questions in between classes. What's more challenging for me is having the same class and seeing the same teacher twice within the same week, where I only have 1 to 2 days in between classes at most, and I can only handle having one class where I see the same teacher twice in a week. And the other thing about having a week in between classes is that I get more leeway to update my teachers for when, not if, when life happens and I'm suddenly struggling with anything to get an assignment in or meet a deadline for any reason. And it goes both ways, where the sooner I can update my teacher, the better it is for both me and my teachers. And the thing about night classes was it did upset my family that I was taking on less and would graduate way later. But choosing to disappoint them led me to being free from all the expectations placed on me from my past, and I did what was right for me by choosing my own needs and listening to my body. And by decluttering my class time, my past acquaintances from high schoolers that I never really got along with, and a lot of false expectations placed on me, I felt more free than I ever did. And for once in my entire life, I actually looked forward to school and I enjoyed my classes. And I built a routine, and it was an environment where I could learn not just for my education, but college was a journey of self discovery for me, and that's what decluttering led to me. It was also the same environment where I met people with real intentions who didn't judge me for being authentic. And college was more than just studying for me, thanks to a gaming club that I helped manage. It's a place where, for the first time in my life, I could call it home, and it's a place where I learned to accept myself. When COVID 19 hit and classes suddenly shifted to online during the middle of the semester, it felt like my home was being stolen and the world just crashed down. And my enjoyment for my classes just completely went down the drain, even though I had two fantastic teachers for that semester. And I still pushed through the winter 2020 semester when COVID 19 started, but a lot of the enjoyment was gone, and I tried to continue online classes in fall 2020, but I just dropped because my mental health just couldn't take it anymore, and I withdrew from the semester in fall 2020. I decided 2021 was going to be completely off for the school year for me. Since we were in a literal pandemic and I couldn't even leave at that point, I was stuck seeing the exact same environment, and that's when I dove into the physical side of decluttering, and when I started to change my life around. I never grew up a tidy person nor minimalistic, and even now, things still go invisible once they leave my hand. In an ideal world, I'd be the complete opposite, but wishing I was someone else does not change my environment. Action is what leads to change, including the imperfect actions. I can't speak for managing a whole household yet, but I can speak for physically managing my bedroom and the gaming club room, like a living room. I can tell you that I was in survival mode, and I had to prioritize trash and dropping off stuff at my nearest local donation bins imperfectly. I didn't have the bandwidth to worry about who it's going to or its new home, but I also learned to make gradual progress without pulling out everything from a space at once, and that progress is invaluable. I simply told myself I deserve a better environment for myself by chipping away the problem at chunks. I have 5 relatives worth of stuff in my bedroom. The bedroom with 2 closets. And I never used closets growing up because hangers frustrate me, and the fact an avalanche happened paralyzed me from using closets. I got rid of a lot of random things from my past, and within those closets was a lot of super outdated stuff we'd never revisit, since it either belonged to people who have either been cut out from my life or they've permanently moved out. A lot of other things were non sentimental stuff from our past and stuff that literally no one else ever recognized. With all the time in the world at home during the pandemic, this bad situation revealed the truth. No one was gonna miss most of this stuff. Honestly, I asked about some things, but I wanted it out of my room for good. And it works perfectly that I cleared out the room because of life changes and the fact that my other relatives needed my old room. And since I did a vast majority of the work ahead of time, it was drastically easier for me to move out my stuff into my new, a bit smaller bedroom. And clearing all that stuff made me realize I'm one person, and not one person in the world is meant to handle 5 people's worth of stuff. I no longer slept subconsciously thinking about what's in my closets or my drawers. I actually found it way easier to keep up with regular maintenance, and even if I miss a day of maintenance, it's way easier to catch up again. I didn't look at my stuff to feel guilty or nagged by it anymore. I just see my stuff and I see things that I appreciate and things that make my life easier. And the truth is, we have way more means of stuff incoming for various reasons, whether it be school, work, holidays, traditions, special needs, collectibles, hobbies, and on the flip side, the stuff that's leaving our house permanently is we have a trash day once a week. That's it. On my end, I got rid of a lot of clothes, including my expensive prom suit that was $400, lots of gaming memorabilia, and random things I got from school but I wasn't even attached to. I still get gaming memorabilia that meant a lot to me, obviously, but not all of it just because it was gaming related, you know? It's limited to whatever my space allows. And I realized limits are a good thing. They let me prioritize my essentials and favorites. Just like a highlighter. We highlight what's essential and important, but if we highlight everything, there's no purpose. The truth is, limits are a part of reality, and decluttering and organizing are separate things. And there's no amount of organizing that will let us fit 25 hours of commitments in a 24-hour day, nor will organizing let us fit 1,000 square feet of stuff into a 700 square foot space. And just like how I function differently to succeed in school, so will others in finding what decluttering methods work for them. It might not be easy or natural for others, whether they're a student or not, but the self-forgiveness it's led to for me is priceless, and I hope my story has been encouraging to reduce overwhelm in your student life, or even if you're not a student. I put in my time and bandwidth to declutter, and by now, decluttering brings in my time and my bandwidth.